All right, good morning, guys. It is 8:04. It's been a long time since I've done this recording because I was on break. Let me just fix my and and I'm excited right now to read the Midnight Zone by Lauren Groff. I don't remember a lot last week from my initial foray into looking into selecting this story. I don't remember a lot, but now that I see on my Chrome, some of the features are like this cover art. I'm starting to remember that it has something to do with memory loss. Like the Midnight Zone has something to do with not being able to remember or something like that, and panthers and mothers and motherhood. Okay, and I'm getting all of that. It seems kind of interesting, honestly. And one of my students said this in class last week when we selected this story, but like the title, the Midnight Zone, just seems like an interesting title. So I agree with that. I think that's a great title, and I think just starting there, it piques some interest for not just for my students but also for me. I'm looking into this now, and let's uh let's go into the Chrome. Let's go into Chrome. Let's go into the pre-reading to look for details that might help us like kind of get excited or to like kind of catch what to pay attention to as we do this. Okay, here we go. So this is a personal blog that I found. It's a very personal reaction. Uh, huh. This is very much a personal reaction. Um, I'm not sure how to make of this particular blog, so I'm gonna move forward. Um, yeah. I remember. Okay, I remember brief. I remember reading this, a little bit of this last week, and I remember this quote. This was impress. It made an impression on me. That's my cat in the background. I don't know if you can hear. Um, I either write out of absolute fucking terror rage. If it's terror, it's usually about my children. If you bring a child into the world, you're permanently scared for the rest of your life. Give me a second. Okay. And this idea about, like motherhood being a state of being a state of fear, a permanent fear. I think, I mean, that's interesting because I think the synopsis of what happens in this story is there's a mom who maybe does or does not die, uh, as she like, and in that process she's like losing her memory or something, or consciousness, because she had an injury of some sort. So this fear, like panthers are something that you'd be afraid of as a mom, and not being able to protect your child is something is an extreme feeling to have. I'm just like kind of skipping back and forth, but you know what? I'm like this for me is like a lot to like kind of parse at the moment. Maybe I'm just like a little sluggish or something, but it feels like a lot to parse. So I'm gonna go into the Goodreads to see if I can get some nuggets. Oh, it's on a spring break. I see. Has a concussive fall. Okay, right. She has that fall while her husband is away for work at a remote place. Okay. She has to be alert enough to be mother to her two boys until her husband returns in 2 days. Motherhood has always been a challenge, and there's also a panther. She pines for the strong mother she had as a kid. Hmm. Oh, and the Midnight Zone has nothing to do with, okay, memory. It's an aquatic. Uh, it's like biology, of the sea, marine biology. That's what I was looking for. The fish are blind in the Midnight Zone. I see. Not most, not the most emotionally grabbing for this person, but okay. But we had, um, it rewards close reading. This is an interesting thing. Boilerplate mission statement. Huh. Never mind. I'm going to. This is all just initial. Oh wow. This is a really long. Okay. It's a less gross and boring version of Gerald's game. Huh. Wow, Stephen Craig. This guy's actually kind of funny. Um, okay. Lauren Groff, however, is tremendous at it. This story could have been novel length, and I wouldn't have been bored. That's good to hear. It's much more intense than Gerald's game. It's primarily comparison, but okay, yeah. That's good. That's good. I'm looking for a little more. Like I don't want to pay attention too much to things like this, like criticism of the writing itself. At least not right now. I want to focus more on just like like what genuine emotional connections people had. A Blake reference, right? Tiger, Panther, sure. Life and Death. Actually, Blake, that sort of dreaminess. If I'm like kind of like slipping into unconsciousness and I might be dying, um, and I have this image of a panther in my mind. That kind of gets me like Blake. Like I don't like when people just force allusions. Like just make connections to other works with as if that's the whole point of reading this thing. But I think in this case, having some understanding of William Blake's poetry, of the tiger, and just having that in the background, that might actually help enjoy this story a little better. The panther, tiger, the darkness, the light. Interesting. Uh, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll have to go and look into it. That's an interesting little find. A little nice connection. A marvelous character. She's weak and lazy, self-loathing, overdependent. It's a great character with deprecatingly witty, self-deprecatingly witty. voice. Okay, let's go. I think genuinely terrifying. I'm glad I found this before I moved on. Genuinely terrifying. It's like I'm glad people had that reaction, that Stephen King, like that experience of fear, right? Because isn't that what Lauren Groff wanted to write about, or like wanted to capture in her writing anyway, which we had over here, you know? Yeah, I'm not gonna read all this today, but let's go into the story, uh, and let's see if we can get a little bit of that fear, that kind of get connected to this character and experience that fear. Here we go. You know what I just zoned out. And this happens all the time. I don't know about for you guys, but when I first read a page of a story, I don't necessarily. I'm like not warmed up. So actually, what I was thinking about is I wasn't actually reading. I was actually just thinking about like why I don't have coffee in my house, like, and what I need coffee right now. So I was just thinking about should I buy coffee, but that's it's such a random thought to have, or it's not random, but it's such a distracting thought to have. So I was just thinking about coffee. And now I'm actually gonna get into it. Let's start that over. Hunting camp. Hunting camp. Find it hard to imagine a hunting camp. But okay, shipwrecked in 20 miles of scrub. So I assume this shipwreck is a metaphor. Oh, a panther sliding, but things have been fraying. So the husband and the boys wanted to be at the beach, but instead they got ancient sinkholes filled with ferns, potential death by cat. So this is an adventurous mom. An adventurous enough mom to take a chance that the boys don't. The screens pulse with the tender bellies of lizards. Hmm. Yeah, this okay. The lizards actually crawl on the screens of the windows. It's cold. She lost weight. There's no electricity, or barely, and no internet. You have to stand on the roof to get a cell signal. The husband left. The raccoons would wake us up there. So it's an interesting setting. Okay, bad joke. So who died is like a joke when you think that someone's being overly serious. Um, oh, okay. Oh, the husband is an apartment building owner. 432. Oh, I see. Floors 432. Those are references to the people who live on floors 4, 3, and 2. Wow, that's horrible. The water of death had seeped into the carpet. Oh my god. That means the blood. Oh no, not the blood. The bathtub water went all the way down to the first floor. Okay, that's really okay. So the apartment is screwed, or it's ruined. The husband wanted to leave. No car. You think you married an incompetent woman? Oh, I see. Oh, okay. So huh. That's okay. That's a little bit direct, but okay. I would not be playdates, never ever. Motherhood meant for me that I would take the boys on month long adventures to Europe, teach them to blast off rockets, to swim for glory, taught them how to read, but they could make their own lunches. So she avoided the typical responsibilities of motherhood. Living in debt that increases every day, but that you have that's such an intense way of describing that relationship. Man, he's the one who's making up for her. Oh man, that's a good sentence. Four people chose that sentence. Hmm. Everything kept me alert. We're a little paranoid. The puppy. There's a puppy, but too sleepy to fix the situation. They're pretty young. She's annoyed at the children, um, and her annoyance is showing in the butter and the cheddar. We're trying to overwhelm them so they get sleepy with these calories. A panther deterrent with some kind of super predator urine. That's interesting. There's a friend who's involved here. Foot races until the dog went wild and bit them. I scolded the puppy. They're having fun. Alice in Wonderland is not very modern. That's kind of interesting. It's very Victorian. We never get the names of the boys. It's a little it's a little abstracted. They're just relationships. Like it's like a mom telling us a story, you know, and focusing on the story rather than on those names, those like the personal connection. Hmm. Like I know that this is the prob. This is about the time we should have the problem. Um, 2 days, he said. They picked ticks and chiggers off with tweezers. That's an intense experience to have. I've never had that experience. It should have been like the first pancakes. Okay, to make them slow down for a second. But in the afternoon, the one light bulb sizzled out. It was all dark wood, and I couldn't see the patterns on the dishes I was washing. Huh. Holding the new bulb, when the puppy leapt up, he let go of this stool to whack at her. Huh. Hang on. Hold the Oh, I see. I see. It's a spinning stool. So she spun and fell. Oh my god. And it's oh, this is even worse because it's actually the boy's fault. Threw water as in through her eyes tears. She threw up on the floor. The bigger boy dragged the puppy who was snuffling my out the door. The older boy bent over me, then lifted an intact light bulb from my armpit triumphantly. He was singing a song. This smaller boy, small child, little boy, older boy, we're actually more distant from the children now. Interesting. Uh, it makes me feel something, but I'm not sure exactly what. And that was how I knew them to be mine. The hot hands of my children, which was good, moved my toes and my feet, head, neck. 20 miles away, and there was a panther between us and there. Huh. Sinkholes, alligators, the end of the world. No landline, no umbilicus. I guess we're talking about a city center. I'm not sure what the umbilicus is referring to. And they can't use cell phones on the roof. But what if she's all of a sudden dead, and I'm all of a sudden alone? The little boy was saying. Oh. To clean up with a broom, and so she's saying no because it's a broom. I couldn't stop crying because I called him Sweetness instead of his name, which I couldn't remember just then. Oh, okay. So we've been holding off on the name on purpose. I took 5 or 6 deep breaths. Thank you, I said. Huh. Flesh colored landfill. Okay. Oh, man. Head trauma was an old friend. I remember this constant liability, I assume. Unless layability is a word that I. Huh. It's a technical word for liable. Layability. Okay, I'll just work with that, sure. From one concussive visit to the emergency room. So this past experience is actually a little reassuring. I wanted my mother. She wants her mother. She wants her mother here. My most expensive pet, my hair. That's such an interesting metaphor. We had yet to face the time. Lanterns, can opener, tuna beans open slowly. Supine. Though the thought of eating gave me chills. Milk, ice cream. The rain. To wait a week until firefighters could figure out a way to rescue her. They didn't seem to grasp my need for them to stay in the cabin, to not go anywhere. the unthinkable that I was skirting, like a pit that opened just in front of each sentence I was about to utter. She's thinking about the panther. She wants them not to leave. They kept asking me if the girl got lots of toys when she made it out of the well. That's so against the point. Right. That's such a. Unfortunately, no, she did not. She's annoyed by that question because the point is don't go out of the house. I made the boys keep me awake. Oh, so if you have a concussion, I guess it's not good to fall asleep. We had this earlier with the mom. The mom, when she was younger and had that concussion, when she was younger and had that concussion, she, the mom was there to always wake her up. I actually want to look. I want to look this up just so I fully understand. But let me see. As long as they're not developing any other symptoms. Interesting. Oh, okay. Actually, this was more. Stay awake for several hours or to have someone wake you up every hour. That concussion could lead to coma, even death. Sleeping cannot cause the problems. The danger is that when you're asleep, we're not likely to notice indications of brain damage. Um, it's best to avoid sleeping. But basically, the fear is that if you fall asleep, you will go into a coma or die. That is a scary. Honestly, that's really scary. That's intense. Like if that were to, wow, man, if that were to, and then to be stuck at home and or at this remote like cabin, man, that would be so intense. She has to stay awake until noon. the the walking catfish, the sunlight, the twilight, and the midnight zones. The three densities of water where there is transparent light, darkish light, no light. Oh, I see. This tornado of air actually br- breaches the surface of the water and goes up to the birds. So the air that's built, that's being somehow that's such a crazy thing, but yeah, apparently it connects all the way to the birds, which is an interesting metaphor. I mean, we have these three densities of water. No light from light to dark to no light at all, right? Which is the fear. We're fearing the midnight zone. We don't want to go into the midnight zone where you go into maybe like a coma or like you die. But when you go into the midnight zone, you know, at this place called the World Pool, you actually get connected back to the birds, which feels like the afterlife, you know, in a weird way. from regular consciousness down to the depths of darkness, to death itself, and then this tornado that goes all the way up to the birds, to something that's beyond our original consciousness. That's an interesting metaphor. They fell asleep. The dog did not get dinner. Now she's the only one who's awake. Incomprehensible. Hunting magazine. The rain increased until it was loud, and still my sweaty children slept. Tomorrow's heavier truths could wash in. That's foreboding. So we actually mentioned Blake, which makes it fair. Like a little over. Yeah, I see. It held my hand for a little while, the poetry. That's nice. The lantern could go dark. Man, this is so intense. So you don't want to fall asleep if all the lights are gone. Oh my god, and you're physically exhausted because you have this injury. Oh, that's going to be so painful. It's going to be so hard to stay awake. That last hour or so of light. The wind had this strange and scrabbling claws effect, rustling against the door. It sounds like a panther. The wind sounds like a panther. She's very itchy, and some darkest thing inside her wanted to slam her own head back against the headboard. She wanted to die. She imagined her death over and over. Oh, the wash and spill of peace. The spill of peace, the water of death, okay, is two metaphors that came out to talk about suicide now. Ugh. To 1,000. The lantern flickered out, and the dark poured in. The moon rose. The moon was gone. A physical shifting, a detaching, a great relief. Is this sleep or is this death, right? That's like the, or is this just both? You know, you just don't know. It's like that. It's you don't know. Nothing definitive came. A sense of mutual watching with herself, right? You know, is something definitive going to come? Is death going to come? But it didn't come. And then the bodiless me stood and circled the cabin. The one that was sitting, now she's circling the cabin. The dog shifted. The floors were cool. My head brushed the beams. Where my body and those my two sons lay together was a black and pulsing mass, a hole of light. My head brushed the beams, though they were 10 feet up, which means she's kind of this body that she's talking about. Right now, there's this body. Herself is kind of like circling and watching her own body. She's actually brushing the beams, which means that she's kind of floating. She's floating over herself right now. Now she's passing outside. This is the ghost. She's giving up the ghost. The path was pale dirt. The forest is made of life, of light. So this is like the tornado. That circling is like the tornado, right? She's circling and she's going up and up and up. I'd lost my sense of smell until it returned hungrily now. She can smell again, which definitely sounds like she's dead. In like this weird, ironic way. Like her body is right there with the children, but herself can smell what's happening. Palmetto? Oh, right. I couldn't go away from it. I couldn't return. I could only circle the cabin and circle it. With each circle, a terrible stinging anguish built in me, and I had to move faster and faster. More wildness was fragile in the face of time, because time is impassive, more animal than human. Time scrapes away all of this stuff. That's actually the sun emerged. Oh, she's back. My hearing was only half underwater now. My head ached, so I held my mouth shut and smiled. Peanut butter jelly sandwiches, Uno cards, cold coffee. I could not even read to them. He's not here. Oh, he's here, so here were my husband's feet on the dirt drive. Here were his feet heavy on the porch. For a half breath, I would have vanished myself. I was everything we had fretted about, this passive queen of chaos with her bloody duct tape crown. He filled the door. He was enormous, was a thing that made me go quiet inside. In his face was the thing that made me go quiet inside. That's such a shocking sentence to have made a long, slow sizzle creep up my arms from the fingertips, because the thing I read in his face was the worst. It was fear, and it was vast. It was elemental. Like the wind itself. Like the cold sun I would soon feel on the silk of my pelt. Wow. Ah, wow. Okay, so that was a rather um, poetic description of a dying person. We have these sort of images kind of loosely floating in and out as the boys and the dog try to keep her up. But they don't, but they're children, so they sleep, and they don't even try to keep her up. That's not even the right word. She tries to keep herself up, and they are around. We never get their names, by the way. So they're just like these phenomena, they're just like floating phenomena. We don't really know them, even the husband. So we have this very, I got the feeling of just like, yeah, like watching a movie with the audio like 80% muted, and I can only dimly hear what's happening, and I'm just like observing what's happening, and a lot of it's like visual, and we have until we finally have the circling above the cabin. She's circling, and then she comes back, and now she's actually dying. What a weird, like a ethereal sort of, not quite spiritual, but like out of body, right? Just to use that metaphor. Like an out of body experience. It's an out of body experience just before death. That's a really memorable image of this woman lying down there in the cabin with the children and the dog, worrying about the panthers. And yeah, this wasn't emotionally gripping in the way like a previous reviewer had said. But it's like it's just interesting. I guess when you're reading this, you're going for the language. Um, you're going for like oh, excuse me. I am a little tired today. But you're going for like the language. You know, you're like you're looking at how this how the metaphor of the great pool or something, the something pool, the world pool. Yeah, the how the metaphor of the world pool and the midnight zone are working, and contemplating the death of a mom. Um, it's more of a language experience rather than like an emotional or narrative experience. All right. For today, that's all I can come up with at the moment. So that was The Midnight Zone by Lauren Groff. It's this sort of dense and poetic exploration of a person who is possibly and probably and almost certainly dying. So the motherhood aspects of it, I think kind of drive the sort of drama and the kind of mom that she was, or and the kind of mom she like. But it's actually much less explicit. It's a lot more understated than I was expecting. The motherhood aspects um, are not like up in your face. So it's you have the background of the maternal like protectiveness, of the husband and wife who kind of fight at times or whatever. But really, it's just this individual, a unique and sort of interesting individual mom's experience, and she's and it's all slipping out away from it's pouring or it's spilling from her. This life. All right, that was The Midnight Zone. If you guys enjoyed this story, share what you thought was good, what you really appreciated about the story, and in particular, if you had an emotional reaction or or an intellectual reaction, that's fine too. But if you had a reaction to any parts, any words or any sentences in the story, share that with us. I'd love to hear how you read this story as well. All right, guys. Sorry about the audio at the very beginning, but I'll just try to edit that out. I'll see you guys in the next one.